Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I'm here from Jared from the Comics League. How you doing, Jared?
Good. How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Can't complain. Can't complain. Just let me get my excitement out of the way since this is the first stream. But Heroic Tales 2 is the proof copies are in. I came home from work last night. My wife opened up the box and took pictures of them and sent them to me. And they look great. There's nothing digitally wrong. So I sent the approval for print, and I woke up to the confirmation printing is happening. So there we go. I was really nervous because it was a flip book, meaning here's cover, and then you flip it over in the cover, and then I was, if you look at the patriarch story is the right way, and then when you flip it over, the Mary Sue story is the right way. So you decide when you bag it and board it next to your Action Comics #1 and Amazing Fantasy 15, next to all your really good comics, which one you want to be the cover. So there you go. I'm real excited. So everything's good. Oh man, Comics Wellspring is who I use. They print in Michigan, and the customer service is so good. They dealt last year. I was a crazy person, calling them up every 10 minutes with another question. They were nice. This time I only called them up every 20 minutes, so I'm getting twice as better. Next printing, I'll call them once every hour, So, but Comics Wellspring, we never give good customer service accolades. We always complain, and I'm trying to change that. So how you doing, Jared?
I'm doing very well. Just been hanging out, working on my campaign, and just talking about all the comics I like.
Okay, well, since you have a campaign right now, we might as well go right into it and see where the conversation goes. So you have Kickstarter, Athena, the Goddess of Thunder. Oh, I thought I was sharing the screen, but too much coffee and excited.
I've been there.
And here we go. So we got Athena, Goddess of Thunder, issue #1 over on Kickstarter. Now, first question I'm going to ask you, is Kickstarter the only platform you're using?
For right now, yes, because since this is my first crowdfunding campaign, I kind of want to start off simple, and then maybe as I gain more experience and confidence with this, then I can expand to maybe doing Fund My Comic or something like that.
Okay. I feel like a phony when I say things like this, but my advice is do Kickstarter. It's the most well-known, but Kickstarter, when it closes. I would open up a Fund My Comic because you could stay open and use that as a storefront, and it doesn't cost you anything. The money only comes out per sale.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of doing my own site, but you got to pay monthly maintenance fees, and at my level, there could be months where I don't have a sale, so it'll live. But Fund My Comic, take 1% every time I make a sale. That's fine.
Okay.
So, plus, I'm loyal to Luke Stone over at Fund My Comic. He's been instrumental about getting my comic out. So, tell us about your comic, Athena, Goddess of Thunder, issue #1.
All right. So with this, this series I've been working on for about 2 years now, and the idea of it came from my two biggest loves, and I think you and I talked about this when you came on my channel, is DC and mythology. So I was kind of trying to figure out a way, how do I marry the two so I can kind of create a hybrid. So that's what this came from, is the idea that what I do is a lot of my characters are original superheroes and stuff, but some of them may or may not be maybe some of the characters from mythology that are immortal or something like that. That gets revealed down the line. But the other inspiration that I really got from this was Wonder Woman, obviously, and I wanted to kind of do a little tribute to her, a little tribute character, and that's where Lyra came from, or as she's going to be known later in the series, Athena. And it grew out of, actually, the funny story is the original idea was a military adventure novel, But the thing was, when I wanted to turn this into a comic book, I was like, instead of having to constantly pester my artist going, okay, the uniforms are wrong, these guys would not move like that, let's just do superheroes, because he's seen because my artist.
Yeah, I shy away from military stuff because, you know, I have a character, Sergeant Stone, who's a World War II vet, and he's still alive because he was transformed into stone. And Renzo drew him, but he put an AK-47 rifle in his hand. And I said, I'm going to get lambasted by military people. And then I said, you know what? Don't change it. Don't change it, because the rifles are just rifles. You know, so he'll pick, you know, when he was in Korea or when he was in Vietnam, he picked up other rifles. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I you know what I mean? But I agree with you. Like Chuck Dixon, when he does military stuff, he sends references and stuff, and he knows what he's talking about. Me, I don't know military, so I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, so I went with the whole superhero idea because obviously it's something my artist Dawson and I know pretty well in terms of like how to make things look cool and stuff. And the final thing that I really put into this is just my love for the medium, because again, as you know, I love comics, and I really feel like the medium is like one of the best around.
So your comic is an homage to Greek mythology, Wonder Woman, and then your love of superheroes.
Yes.
So I got to ask, obviously I haven't read issue number 1 yet. So is this the actual Greek goddess Athena, or is this somebody? Okay.
No, with a few, with like most of the characters, they're named after Greek mythology characters, because the idea is that I'm kind of hearkening back to the idea that like superheroes are the modern mythology and like what they're supposed to like represent. Like my Superman character's name is Atlas because of his like enhanced strength. I went so far. So I have a character, a female character that can manipulate water. I named her Thalassa because that's the name of the Greek goddess of the sea. So I was like, oh, I kind of wanted to like go with even obscure gods that like no one's really going to think of in terms of naming.
Yeah, Thalassa. That's the she's the Greek goddess of the ocean, and that's literally what the Greeks called. That's the ancient Greek word for ocean.
Yeah, so
or sea rather, because ocean was ocean and Mediterranean Sea was the sea.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of where I wanted to go for. And then I have allusions to stories like with the main enemy named Xerxes. He's like my dark side like character. His thing is he wants to get to Athena because, and we learned this throughout this series, she doesn't know the full extent of her power. She learns that throughout volume 1. And he believes that through her power, he will become unbeatable, invulnerable, and such. So she is sent away to escape as Xerxes takes over her home planet, and then she arrives on Earth. Now, the key thing here is that she originally thought that her planet, Santragar, was the only one with superhuman people. Okay. She didn't know that, like, and by they're called from her on her planet, they're called the Empowered. She didn't know that there were other empowered people, and there was a very specific reason for why there's superheroes on Earth. As I'll get into more in this series, because I have a plan for like 12 issues in terms of like of the complete story, and then. Obviously, as the wind goes, if I feel like, hey, there's more stuff that I can tell with this character or this, I'll expand. But yeah,
I just wanted to show this because you said you have a superhero character, a Superman character named Atlas. Well, I have a Superman character named Captain Atlas, and he is by far the most powerful superhero in my world. But it just shows you when you base it on mythology, you know. But
actually, a picture of Atlas should be in the campaign if you scroll down.
Okay.
But yeah, in terms of the overall like story of, it's also based it's yeah. There he is. He's the one in white.
Okay.
So so yeah, and a lot of it, the balancing act came from we were designing these characters. I want to be able to for people to know what I'm homaging and who I'm homaging, but I don't want it to look like a ripoff. And it's like that was kind of the balancing act that we went with here, but I think we did a pretty decent job at maintaining originality.
What is this Greek soldier looking guy's name?
That's Achilles.
Oh, great. Because I got to show you this.
Yeah.
I got to show you this. It shows you how in tune we are. There's the Spartan.
Ah, there you go. There you go. Great minds to think alike. I love it.
Yep, there you go. Comic books are for nerds. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Is this MSK? Because we're doing. It looks like we're doing the weird thing where YouTube is saying their ats instead of their first name. They're saying their last name instead of the first name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we got the Spartan over here, and you got Achilles. Yeah.
And let's just say he has anger issues that'll be brought in later in the series. But so each arc is going to have a theme. The first one is identity, because Athena learns how to be a superhero because she had a sheltered life as the princess / like in the royal family of her like place. I mean, she's trained how to fight, but that's like only as like a last resort. And when she comes to Earth, she starts to learn how to be a superhero, how to be of service. And it's also kind of a refutation to a lot of the like modern comic book writers that don't understand what real heroism is. So it's like, it's kind of like she shows up and then like she learns through this team that like, no, you should be using what makes you unique, what makes you strong for the service and defense of others. And then as it goes by, Athena's like, I'm not going to lose another home.
I got to ask now, could you do a roundup of all these characters' names?
Yes.
I like their designs.
All right. So the blue one's name is Hermes. He's my speedster.
Okay.
Achilles is the warrior. He's like my berserker-like character.
Okay.
Atlas is the leader, and he's my Superman character. And then the one flying is Hephaestus. He's the like tech guy.
Okay.
And then Thalassa has a different is on another page. I don't think I included her, but I can pull up her character design. But yeah, let me pull that up. So this is Thalassa. Hang on, I'll share my screen real quick.
So she wasn't called Athena back on her home planet.
No, her name was Lyra. And these are my stretch goals for right now. So
yeah.
Once we get funded, what I wanted to do, I wanted to make those trading cards that Marvel had, where like they had arbitrary stats in the back, but there was like a picture on one side and a bio on the other. And if you scroll down to the lace, yeah,
I got my trading cards.
Yeah,
on the back, a couple of people didn't understand what I was doing, so I feel like I'm over explaining, but I'd rather do that than under explain. On the back is a character sheet to a role playing game. So this literally looks exactly like the character sheet. So it's an odd way if you don't know what I'm doing. So anytime I talk about this is the character sheet. This is what the character sheet to the role playing game looks like. So
And a little fun detail is like one of the things that Dawson and I really wanted to do with the cards is they're bordering. We wanted it to look like Greek pottery.
Oh yes, I see that.
Because again, it's like a lot of this is like a marriage of my two like things I'm really a geek of, and that's like this and this. And one of the things I emphasize in issue 2, I'll tease this, is like when the team communicates and like coordinates like doing action stuff, I wanted them to feel like they're an actual military unit in the way like they communicate and the terminology they use. So I'm kind of bringing that in as well.
I'm sharing a secret project right now.
Woo.
This is for
okay, I like that.
This is the trading card for a Greek superhero. I'm not telling his name or anything like that, but this is the artist right here.
Dope. It looks great.
He's driving from California back home, and this is the male and the female card. It's not uploaded yet, but I'll find the. But it's a husband and wife team that they discover the a treasure trove of Greek mythological artifacts. Like you see that spear, that's the tooth from the Grey sisters. You know how they had one tooth between them that they shared.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then the wife has the eye.
Oh, that's cool.
And then he's wearing the golden fleece, wearing the sandals of Hermes, and his helmet is Hades' invisibility helmet.
Oh, I dig that.
So and they're going off to deal with leftover problems from Greek mythology.
And by the way, here is the lace. We gave her own card, and by every main character of the book is going to have their own trading card. Yeah, and one of the cool details. So she has a dragon tattoo on her arm, and that glows whenever she uses her powers.
Cool. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like a lot of this is like, again, a tribute, but the other portion of it is like, I just want to like contribute because I love comics so much, and I kind of feel like eventually it's like I should like try and communicate my love for comics through my own comic.
Yeah, cool. This looks cool. So, okay. All right, so I'm wrapping my head around the concept. So these aren't the Greek gods. They're not descended of the Greek gods. They're aliens that were inspired by Greek mythology.
A few of them are humans. The idea, the thing in my world is that superhumans have existed on Earth for much longer than anyone really knows. It's like the idea is like there's always been empowered on Earth, and it's like, some of them could be aliens, some of them are not, but it's like it's and I get into the origins of like each of these characters later. Some of them discover like an artifact that empowers them. Some of them essentially like have an accident and then they're confined to a suit. Some of them, one of them, I will tease this, is from Athena's planet, but we find that out later. And that leads to some character conflict.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
I just keep getting pop-up messages, and I'm running out of storage on my Gmail drives. And since I opened up my Gmail drive to show you this, and I couldn't figure out how to shut it.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Technical issues.
Yeah, I Greek mythology. I've been. Now you're going to get me down a Greek mythology rabbit hole. So let's go over your campaign before I totally derail this.
Okay.
So I like your cards.
Thank you.
I like your character designs. Like my thing about superheroes is simple.
Yeah.
Least amount of lines and as few colors as possible. And I think you're nailing this. Just looks. I mean, look at this. This is right out of Marvel or DC, and
I appreciate that. That's kind of what I was going for. And yeah, onto that, I want to that point. I intentionally told him go simple is better because that's easier for him to draw into the action scenes. And it's like there's beauty in that simplicity. It's trying to harken back to that classic age of comics.
Yeah, I mean, the meta history of comic books is the superheroes. Comic books only had 4 colors. That's so the comic book costumes were simple designs, simple colors. And then that became the way. And then the costumes were simple because the guy had to draw it over and over and over again and hit a monthly detail. But that became the way it is. Like the example that I give is in France, they don't say Darth Vader, they say Darth Vader because they translated it wrong in France. And if old school Star Wars guys don't want to hear Darth Vader, they still say Feder, Feder, because that's what it became and that's what it is. And it was a nonsense word until it wasn't a nonsense. But the limitations become what. So now, like when I see superheroes and I see like the New 52 Jim Lee designs, there's just weird extraneous lines. all over the
Mhm.
Supermans. What purpose do they serve? They don't really look that cool. And Jim Lee, no offense, you don't draw monthly comics anymore, so you can make it complicated. And then the poor schmuck who has to actually do the comic monthly is saddled with all this nonsense lines, you know.
Mhm.
So, but I love this. She's got the correct colors for the scene.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
That's the other thing. I had to give Dawson, my artist, minimal, like it's one of those relationships I have with Dawson where it's like I'll give him, I'll tell him draw this, draw this, draw this. Instantly, when I get the art back, it is exactly to a T what I was imagining in my head.
that is
I'm like,
awesome.
how
That
did you do this?
isn't that fun?
Yeah, it really is. But if you scroll up, there's one image that this is the perfect example that keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling.
I love this.
Oh yeah, yeah. He did all the poses and everything like that to make them look dynamic. Scroll up one. It should be one more. No, another one. Yeah, that right there. I just told him, okay, I want her to be using her thunder powers, and then a mosaic of her past behind her, and I get that back. I'm like, that is legit exactly what I was thinking of.
It's fun, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Sometimes I don't know. Like when I send an overly detailed script.
Yeah.
You know, it's just fun for me. Like you know, Renzo, my main artist, speaks Spanish as his first language, so I just trained myself to overly detail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I'm starting to become aware, and because of my job, I'm a construction worker. The foreman will come over, and they'll say, "Okay, John, take this pipe, throw it over here, make it go over here, and then boom, insert it over here, and then walk." And I realized I have no idea what he's talking about. So I started repeating the directions that I was given back to the foreman, because sometimes I literally followed your directions. This pipe, but what he said isn't what he pictured in his mind. It's not what he meant. Mm-hmm. So and I started to refine my words. So now I start doing that in my script, and there's still differences, you know. This, but I gotta say, sometimes the differences are fun. Have you ever encountered that?
Yes. It's like when Dawson and I were like designing these characters, or like some of it, because I give him a lot of freedom when it comes to like how things are laid out and stuff. I told him, hey, listen, use my script as long as it basically communicates the idea, fine, but go crazy and go nuts. He has done some stuff like in one of the first pages we were trying to depict like a war. He straight up put like a head on a pike, and I go, I didn't put that in the script. It's not on this, because that's page 2. But
okay,
when I saw it, I was like, oh, that is genius. And he goes, yeah, I figured if it's a war zone, this will kind of look very brutal. It's kind of Marvel style in that way. It's like how the Silver Surfer was like created. So I really dig that when I have an artist that I'm so in sync with, because he's also seen all the same movies I have. So I'll go, hey, remember this scene from like this movie? This is kind of the vibe I'm going for. So kind of homage this.
So how many pages is this comic?
24.
24 pages, and it's a continuing story?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I have plans so far. I have the first arc completely written. I just have to have it edited, and then I have plans for 3 more arcs. Arc 1 is, as I said, identity. Arc 2 is a straight up war story, and Arc 3 is straight up like a Game of Thrones, like political. And by political, I don't mean I'm putting modern politics in there. I mean it's like
the politics of your world. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm going for. Exactly. And then it's like that's when like the main story ends. Obviously, again, like I said, because I plan on doing like fun side stories of like each of their, every member of my team, the Pantheon, is going to get an origin story at some point.
Yeah, that's cool. Every character could have their own story, their own. Yeah, that's awesome.
And what I plan to do is logistic wise, I have to figure this out. Is I'm gonna have each of my friends that like are like really into superhero comics. They can write the origin story for my character. Obviously,
oh my god, that hurts me to think of somebody else writing my characters. You know,
well, obviously I oversee it and decide it has to align with this. This is who the character is, but just go crazy.
I take it back. You know, you can write my characters, but I'm writing the origin.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Yeah, I know, right?
So that begs the question then. You were talking about some of your world buildings, this other world and everything.
Mhm.
So do you have like a type world? Like I was asked to collaborate with Bill Williams in his comic book Punchline. I was keeping it secret for a while, but he said, go ahead and tell everybody. So he has next year Punchline Annual #1's coming out, and I have a 12-page story in that. And the only thing he told me is his characters interact with my characters. And oh my God, did I stress out, because I'm a continuity freak, and all the origins in my world are tied to one thing. So there's no room for Versima and Mel in my world. And they're also based on Greek mythology, which is a big thing in my world. And it sounds like, and it's different. So I was stressing out, and I wrote like a couple of short ideas and whatever, but we came up with something. I came up with something that works, and whatever. Now, if I was to say to you, hey, let's collaborate, my characters meet your cat, would that freak you out?
Not really, because it's like it depends on the like nature of the collaboration. Obviously, as we would go back and forth, of course, it's like we would iron out all those details. And yeah, I do have I have a general like idea of like the world, and obviously I'm gonna nail that down as I go along. Like I plan on writing an entire lore book that will be part of a future campaign. Like I've always loved when DC or Marvel would put out those cool coffee table books. That's like, here's the story of our world. Here are all the characters,
the
all the
DC.
Yeah, I really want to do that.
The problem with DC is they change it every 5 years.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like they just put out a new book called History of the DC Universe by Mark Waid. It's pretty good, but I'm like, this is probably going to last 3 to 6 months until it's contradicted to hell.
Right. Marvel, at the very least, they got a lot of problems, but they don't go rebooting their universe every 5 years. So
yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like, I have no confidence whenever DC says this is the history. What they really mean is this is the history until we throw it out again.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't like. I don't know if you got my first issue, but like. I wasn't heavy on the world building because originally I was, and the feedback that I got back is I don't care about all of this. You know what I mean? Like just imagine if compare myself to Tolkien. I'm so arrogant, but just imagine if the Silmarillion was the first book released.
Oh God.
I think that would have killed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Hobbit was it. So that's what I wanted. I want to do. That's why I didn't even do the origin of my main guy, because but now.
Yeah, with me, that was a balancing act for me.
Right. That's like, the question I was going to get to.
Yeah. It's because the two things I had to work on, which was kind of a tough adjustment, is that I was primarily a prose writer, so going from prose to comics itself was its own transition. But when I was writing this, I was like, okay, how do I introduce the essential ideas? Like, not like obviously everything, because I can spoon feed it in as like the next issues come in. But how do I introduce enough that as you're going through issue 1, you understand, here are the characters, here are the world, here's stuff. And basically what I do is I have it like in the first page or so, there's like very brief, like, here's who this character is. He wants this. I have to leave, so I'm going to leave and stuff. And then as like the series goes on, more and more stuff will be sprinkled in. But it's not like you have to worry about there'll be like let's say 2 or 3 pages where it's all like lore.
Yeah.
Because I can't.
I read a couple of crowdfunded books, and the first 2 pages, it's like the scroll from Star Wars.
Yeah.
This is all the, and I was tempted to do that, but I feel that's. And no, it's like, here's what you need to know to enjoy my story. Well, how about you make your story so that I can enjoy it? and learn everything as we go along.
Exactly. That's what I really wanted to do. I wanted the audience to learn the world as Athena learns it, as she discovers more of like the history of like my version of Earth, what it means to be a superhero, the full extent of her powers. Because there's and I reveal this in volume 1, but there's a very, very subtle thing about her powers that makes her both the most dangerous and one of the most powerful heroes in my world. And she's going to discover this alongside the reader. That was something that was really important for me.
That's cool. Well, please forgive me if I sound like an old man giving advice. That's
no, it's all good.
I literally, my characters are all for my role playing games, so I have character sheets with rules and math and stats. So I have those sheets right here when I'm writing the stories, and I'm like, that character can't do that. This character's not strong enough to pick up that car. You know what I mean? And I think as long as you're consistent, sooner or later, the people like nobody who reads Spider-Man comic books will, if all of a sudden Spider-Man turns around and presses his web shooters and fire shoots out, people are all going to go, Spider-Man can't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
The other thing that I really wanted to emphasize is that I didn't want my character to be a Mary Sue. I didn't want her to be able to do everything. And that's why, like, that's why I have her regularly interact with the other members of the team that will give her pieces of advice, like, here's how you use your powers. Here's what it means to be a hero. And because I have a scene in an issue where it's just them like doing superhero stuff, and it's a montage, and Athena's like, so this is what it means to be a hero. This is how someone should use their power for good. And it's like, because again, it's like with her perspective, she started off as like a princess in the lap of luxury. She had to leave, and now she's learning I wasn't exactly a good steward with my power. I should have been using that more to help my people.
Cool. Sounds good. So I'll ask you, since you're in the same boat as me, a writer, I assume you can't draw like I can't draw. Otherwise, you'd be drawing it yourself. So as a writer who has to send you work out to, like, how did you learn to write a comic book script? Did you just wing it? Did you read up on it?
So I watched a lot of YouTube on how to do it. And I have a few like books on how to write a comic book script. Like I have the one written by, I think, Bendis and stuff. But the other thing that I did is I just wrote, because here's the thing that like I was running into. It's like, because there's no like set, like this is the format for a comic book script. It's really hyper dependent on the creative team. So what I wanted to do, that was kind of a tough thing for me, because one of the issues that I had was I was putting too much detail or too much dialogue in there. And I had to learn, okay, how do I say less, but say the exact same thing that I'm saying? It's like, how do I say in one sentence what I previously had with like a paragraph or like 2 sentences? So it's like, that was the part that really was hard for me, but I think I have that down now. But it's like, it's one of those things where like you have to get, you learn that just by figuring out, here's how like experiment. And obviously I dealt with writer's block, and yeah, exactly.
Well, and this right over here is exactly what you're talking about. This is the Subterranean, and he's an underground ruler of a kingdom. And this panel right here, in the script, he explained all of his politics, everything, and there was no room for the art.
Yeah.
So I was like, how do I make his arrogance, his importance, and the fact that he's the lesser of many evils in his few words, it's tough, man.
It Plus really is.
You want everybody to know all your great ideas and how brilliant you are, but you really have to, like a laser beam, you got to focus it and give the information and give everybody their own voice, and it is tough.
It really is. So trust me. The other thing that I dealt with a lot of writer's block in the beginning, but then I heard like the best piece of advice, and this is the piece of advice that I would give to writers all the time. If you're dealing with writer's block and you don't think your ideas are good or anything like that, or you don't know how to do it, just write. just right, get it all out, then you
Right.
can edit it and refine it later, but just get the ideas out on paper so you could see, because there's plenty of times where I'm like, this is not going to work. Oh, it actually does work. Okay. Or conversely, this is the most genius idea ever. Oh, that sucks. So it's like you once you get it on the page, you can see it in context there, because obviously every idea is going to look to an extent great in your head. It's like, oh, I have this, this is going to set up this. But then when you actually have it down there, I'm like, yeah, this is dragging the plot down.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I hate to say it, but I also think economically, could I afford to make this story this long?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got to condense this. Like, I decided that my comics are 40 pages.
Mm-hmm.
So that, but I have 2 stories in each page. So, you know, I could do 2 20-page stories, but they're never 2 20-page stories. So like the second story is always dependent upon, oh, that story was so, you know, limits. Can I afford this? How much does it cost me a page to you know, art, coloring,
Mm-hmm.
lettering, and everything. So you gotta, you know, sometimes I think constraints do force you to be creative. Just imagine if it was free, how long and trailing and meandering our stories would be.
Oh, if it was free, I would have put the whole damn thing in one book.
Right. You know, but would it have been better?
No, because here's the thing. I always like the idea of like people anticipating instead of like, because here's the thing. It's like with Netflix, how sometimes they put out all of a series at once. Conversely, when they put out like one episode at a time, and it's like both are valid, both work in their own ways. It's just I always prefer the whole you can have a conversation about it, because personally for me, I wanted like my readership, my prospective readership, to be anticipating the next issue and talking about and having those conversations that we had at the comic book store. Like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen next month. What this character's gonna do, what this character's gonna do, and you kind of lose that if you just release it all.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. When Game of Thrones came out, the first season I binge watched because I didn't catch it at the beginning. So I watched the first season, and ironically, I don't remember the first season, but the second season and on, I watched it weekly. My wife and I sat down, we made dinner every Sunday night. We watched Game of Thrones, had dinner, and then talked about it. I remember every other season. Breaking Bad, I wasn't interested in, oh, the main character's a jerk who makes drugs. I don't want to watch that show, but everybody convinced me that it was good. So when it was over, I binge watched it, and I remember the show, but I don't remember individual episodes. People will talk about, remember when this happened? I'm like, absolutely not. They'll talk about the character arc from this guy. And I'm like, I don't remember, but I remember, and Game of Thrones was a complicated show with 1 million characters. And I remember, except for the first. So I'm with you. A little bit of delayed gratification, time to absorb it, time to think about it and digest it. I think it's better, and I think we're moving away from that. Like, but also I don't. My comic is coming out once a year. That's too long. I want to speed up process.
Yeah, and eventually, hopefully, I can get to a point where I can get more regular releases. But my thing is, I always want to have that one, because when I wrote this, and this is kind of my philosophy throughout everything. Every issue is important, and I also want to have that one thing in the comic that everyone's going to be like, remember when Athena did this? That was badass.
Yes.
Every issue has to have that moment, because I never want anyone to go issue, like, let's say 3. It was kind of meh. I always want them to always say, oh, this was awesome in issue 3 when this happened and this happened and this happened.
Yeah. I don't know if you watched your boy Zach Diversity in Comics, but like now he's off the rails. I don't watch him.
I used to watch him before he went off the rails. Yeah, exactly.
But I used to watch, and he said something that stuck. He said a lot of things that stuck with me. I got to give him credit where credit is due. But he said, if Spider-Man's name is on the title, Spider-Man's got to do something cool in every issue. Mm-hmm. And I agree with that, and if you're going to have a guest character, if you're going to have a secondary character, that guy does something cool, but he shouldn't outshine, Spider-Man. Torch is in there, Spider-Man, it's his comp. And I agree with that. The other thing, get back to writing, is I got the Will Eisner book, Sequential Art. And one of the things that he says is, and it's really, really tough for me because I like to talk, is, me and you have right now, we're a comic book panel. I've got this panel over here and you're your panel. I say something and then you respond. And then anything else should be the next panel. He goes, but maybe on certain, if it's, you could have a response to the response, and that's it. So, because I you just want to have so much conversation, but but you also don't want to have the wall of text, so like, one guy that I'm friendly with, I helped him with, I reviewed his comic, and I said, this whole conversation could have happened during a fight. Like, instead they were literally fighting, then they stopped and they went over here and literally ate lunch and then went back and started sparring again. I said, they could have had that conversation while they were sparring. I said, that you just did the Marvel thing. Let's drink coffee at a coffee shop and talk about our feelings.
Yeah.
But like, you know what I mean? But like, he took it in the spirit that was all, but like a conversation, you need to give that information. It's got to be cool.
Yeah, and it's like, I never want, because trust me, because I still read the name, the main, I still read a lot of the big two comics, and DC has gotten better at this, but Marvel is still of the, let's have an entire issue where the characters just sit around and talk about their feelings, and I go, what is this? I came to watch the Avengers, but they're playing soccer with the X-Men. What do I don't care about. It's
funny that you say that, because some of my favorite X-Men comics were the X-Men sitting around playing baseball in the backyard. But it was a couple of pages, and it was after Magneto threatened to destroy the world. And
that's the point. That's my point there. It's like, because it's all that nowadays. If it's like, okay, there's like a big arc where like gods are battling and such. And then it's like a couple of issues where it's like, okay, we're just cooling down. We're just relaxing. We're getting character beats. That's fine. That's fine. The problem is nowadays with Marvel, it's pretty much all, let's talk about our feelings and stuff.
But, and that, well, for two things. Chris Claremont could do that because he was a great writer. And it was almost like a denouement. Let's calm down after like dinosaurs and volcanoes and explosions. And it was monthly. So we could take like this month is just character setup. That's fine. And usually they introduced, plot, Chris Claremont was always A plot, B plot, C plot, and sometimes D plot. And then unfortunately, sometimes with Claremont, the D plot would get forgotten about and would never be resolved. But that's another issue. But it was a monthly comic. I make a comic once. So far, my record is one a year.
Mm-hmm.
If this comic gets shipped to me by the end of 2 weeks, I could claim 2 comics in a year. I'm cutting it close, but I don't have. There's too much time for me to do like a let's explore our feelings comic. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But there's got to be excitement. There's got to be, and I think, I don't know. I keep talking about how like long delays between issues kills any interest. Look at Stranger Things. Does anybody care? It's been like 5 years since the last season. I don't care anymore.
Like, I watch it. There have been times, by the way. So on the comics, it's like there are times nowadays where like I'll be waiting for like a DC issue to come out, and then it's like it'll show up in my pull box, and I go, I legit forgot this was an ongoing series because it got delayed to hell, and I'm like, okay, cool, but I forgot you were a thing.
Yeah, I mean, so that's why, every issue is self-contained.
Yeah,
you could miss issue number 1 and still get what's going on over here in issue 2.
And that's what I kind of, and that's what I'm kind of working on with my series. I want to get to that point. I have to, obviously, as I said, I wrote the first arc. I'm going to go through it and refine it more. And I'm going to really emphasize that. Because obviously, here's the thing. Yes, we could have a catch-up tier on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, what have you. But the thing is like a lot of times people are just going to pick up the first issue. And I'm like, listen, I like continuity as much as the next guy. But sometimes, and I would argue most of the time, people just want to be able to sit down, open a comic book, and just enjoy it for what it is as a singular entertainment experience. Where now, if it's part of a larger universe and it references events, that's great. You could definitely do that. However, it's like, I think the big two, they focus too much on the continuity, and it's like, back in the day you had these gods and they created this and this and this, and I'm like, I'm trying to read a Superman comic. What are you talking about?
It's funny that you say that, because I am the biggest continuity freak in the world. I quit Marvel and DC when they started disregarding continuity, like even before the identity politics. Like the identity politics were already in, but it didn't become the main focus until a year or two later. But I do agree with you that I don't know if you're familiar with the comic book called Young All-Stars that came out in DC in the 80s. Yeah, it's a forgotten comic book, wonderfully drawn, and it was a charming comic. But its premise was Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and I forget who else, all got the Golden Age versions, were all vaporized in the Crisis of Infinite Earths. So who were those people in those comic books if they never existed? So they made the Young All-Stars. They had Iron Monroe as Superman, and Fury as Wonder Woman, Flying Fox as Batman, and Neptune Perkins as Aquaman. And to my response was, who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, okay, so they made the Young All-Stars. They made these cool characters. It was drawn by Michael Blair. It was wonderfully drawn. But every story was fixing continuity, and it wasn't a story. And I'm a continuity freak, and I'm like, knock it off.
If your whole thing is just to create content and not tell a story, I got news for you. That book is not going to be remembered that much, because like you want a good story. And it's like, here's the thing. It's like, I say this all the time on my show with Tom King's Wonder Woman. Chances are it's not going to be remembered, because all it is like him ignoring Wonder Woman continuity or him contradicting it. So I'm like, no, if you reference the past and not crap on it, like, and that's the other thing. Too many times in the big two, whenever these newer creators reference continuity, it's mostly to fix it or to like say, well, that was kind of bad. Let's improve it. And I go, you can't improve on what laid the foundation for you to get your job right now and write these characters. You just can't. And I think it's very narcissistic when these new writers come in and they go, I want to fix this.
Yeah. I absolutely. I back when I'm old timer, when forums were a big thing, like from like the late 90s to about 2010, you'd go to DCcomics.com and there was like a Wonder Woman forum, and sometimes the current writer would respond or whatever. It was kind of neat. This was before, and then Dan Slott with his famous FU, and then next thing you know, all the writers started slamming and yes, I do agree that a lot of the comments were just people being jerks to I have access to Jeff Johns, well, I'm just going to insult them. And I understand that wears you down after a while. So yes, the fans aren't blameless, but one of the fun things I liked was I could interact with the creators and talk about continuity. And a lot of the guys were like, oh wow, I didn't know that, this is cool. That gives me an idea. It was a lot of fun. The point of is continuity should be a springboard.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a leash. But if you want to write Spider-Man, there's things you need to know, there's things you need to understand, and there's things you need to appreciate. And I said this, there was a comic book called The Establishment from Wildstorm, and the writer was pretty arrogant about dismissing continuity, and he was killing off earlier Image characters within that. And he goes, nobody cares about those characters. And if you know me, I don't particularly like early Image characters for the most part. And even I thought that was disrespectful. Yeah. And I said, well, what's to stop a guy 5 years from now just killing off the Establishment? The Establishment was a riff on the Authority, and said nobody cares about the Establishment. I said, you see the precedent you're setting.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing is important, and continuity is important, and whatever you're doing isn't important.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that I always tell people, look, if you don't like what Marvel and DC are putting out nowadays, there's like 80 years of history. I guarantee you that's why when people say Marvel and DC are all bad, I'm like, no, I don't believe that. I guarantee you there's one good comic. It's like with me. Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
reading this Epic is an old Marvel magazine that I got the first 5 issues and never read the rest. Now in my dotage, I'm reading old Marvel stuff.
Yeah, it's like with me. It's like I hate what they're currently doing with Wonder Woman. So what I did is I started reading all of the past runs of Wonder Woman, like John Byrne, Phil Jimenez, like George Perez, obviously. But it's like that's what you do. I always tell people on my channel, yeah, the past is probably the best of these characters in these publications. Marvel and DC as well. It's because they have this rich legacy of writers that they used to encourage the writers to actually appreciate. It's like there was the writer of the Power Girl book that just got canceled was like, I went to DC and I asked, okay, so what Power Girl book should I be reading in order to like write this character well? They literally told her, no, just write whatever you want.
Now, Dave, this is Genuine Comics over here. Dave Brink. Jared, are you familiar with Dave?
No.
Okay, Dave has, to me, the best superhero comic coming out right now. I always stop myself because I always say it wrong, and I look like a fool. Perfect 10. She's, and Genuine Comics, just so good. But right now, I'm having a little issue with Dave for this comment. Imagine jumping in as a writer today for Marvel and having to read 50 years of crap just to conform.
You don't have to, though. You don't have to, though.
No, I disagree. If you're writing at Marvel, you should have already read 15 years worth of Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's like let me put it to this way. I always say if I got to write Wonder Woman, I've read a good, very good. You should
now,
have.
If you're walking into Marvel and say I want to write Wonder Woman, and like, okay, cool. What's your favorite Wonder Woman? I never read Wonder Woman. Sorry, you can't write it.
Yeah. It's like I could name off the top of my head like 5 great Wonder Woman stories, and the important thing is you don't have to read like literally everything that was published with the character. You have to read enough to understand the character and understand the key plot points of his or her past. Then you can estimate and like go, okay, here's a story that is within the confines of the character and like his or her history.
Power Girl has 2 big sources. But like, okay, let's put it this way. I'm going to write a story about the French Revolution. I'm going to write a novel about the French Revolution. But I know nothing about the French Revolution. I'm just going to write.
Yeah, exactly. No, and I'm like,
you should know about the French Revolution before you write that novel. Or I get hired on a Netflix series. Napoleon. Okay, who's this guy Napoleon? That doesn't matter. Just write a story.
Or here's on my side that really annoys me. You have writers that say, "Oh, I've read all this stuff about these characters." It's like Tom King. He came in saying, "Oh, I know a lot about comics. I read like decades of Wonder Woman lore." And then when he writes the character, he contradicts literally every bit of Wonder Woman lore. So I'm like, where is this vast knowledge of Wonder Woman you told me about? Because so far I'm seeing. No, I just said that for marketing, and that's the other thing.
Okay, for the non-comic book fans, which I don't understand why you'd be watching this, but like, I get a job at NBC as an announcer for NFL. What's football? I don't know anything about football. I just want this job. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Okay, you want to be an electrician? What's electricity? Like, you should know what you're going to write about. You want to write Power Girl, you got to, and I'm the DC editor, you got to, okay, tell me about Power Girl. What's your story? What do you know about this character? Nothing. I'm sorry, I can't hire you to write a character that you know nothing about. I don't want Roy Thomas fixing continuity all the time. That's not a story either. But come on, man, work with me.
And there are too many writers nowadays that legit brag about not reading anything about the character that they're writing. And I go, why would you brag about that?
Right. I don't know if it's true because I can't verify it. I don't believe anything that anybody tells me. No offense to anybody, but I keep hearing that writers for Star Wars or the Marvel Universe, or like they actively look for writers who don't know the source material. I believe it by how bad it is, but like, why would you want these people to write your stuff? I'm going to write a movie about Davy Crockett. Who's Davy Crockett? I don't know who Davy Crockett is. You're hired. You know,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
just sounds like the most ridiculous thing in the world. If you want to write the Fantastic Four, dude, you better know the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why
Exactly.
would you hire somebody who hasn't read? Oh, by the way, I love that trident in your background.
Thank you. It's from the Snyder cut, and that's the other thing. Going back to Athena, it's also based on my love for the Zack Snyder DC movies. I know they're controversial with fans, but that's because personally to me, they inspired me to start my channel and get back into reading comics, because when they were announced, I was not a regular comic book reader, but like I fell back in love with the medium. And he positioned them as like modern gods. So obviously, again, as someone that's like a big fan of mythology, that really spoke to me. And I understand they're not for everyone, and you know what? That's fine. But it's like they personally spoke to me.
That's good. I mean, I'm not a fan of this of what Snyder did, but you got something positive out of it. Brought you back into comics. You're making your own comics. That's one. I'm not one of these people that are going to fight with people because you like. The Snyder fans versus the non-Snyder fans, that I could not be less interested in that fight.
Yeah, me too. It's like, here's the thing. What I always tell people is that whenever there's like a version of the characters that you don't like, here's what you have to understand. That is a starting on point for so many other people. It's like, I came in the new 52. That's my era of DC Comics. I love it very much. But you know what I did after I got an introduction to the characters? I went back to post-crisis. I went back to even pre-crisis, and I said, let me read more about these great characters. And that's what you do. It's a starting off point, so you can go, okay, now that I understand like the foundation of these characters and understand who they are, let me look at their vast history. Now, not everyone's going to do that, obviously, but it's like you have to look at it like that, because when you look at it like that, it stops being, oh, I can't believe you're not a real reader if you like this era or you like Snyder or anything like that.
That's, you know, I don't know. I was about to say that's arrogant. And then I realized I do the same thing. Like if you've only read the past 10 years of Marvel, like in my arrogance, you're not a real, but you know, whatever. Like I'm a flawed human, but I don't know. If you're going to make a movie or a comic that is somebody else's IP that's beloved.
Yeah, that's true.
You gotta like The Witcher. Why did these people make a TV show about The Witcher and then
don't even get me started? And then they push out the one guy that knew about The Witcher.
Right. Not only did he loved The Witcher, you know what I mean? It's like, why would you? I don't understand the logic of this is a beloved IP, Winnie the Pooh, and now Winnie the Pooh's a serial killer. Who? You know, that's
like,
not Winnie the Pooh.
Here's a perfect example of this. When you look at like George Perez's Wonder Woman, reading that, you clearly know this man loves the character, knows the character, and then he had the advantage because he was reinventing her from the post-crisis era. But however, here's the thing. I always say you can tell, even if you don't necessarily know who the writer is, you can tell if they're truthful about their love for the character. Because when you look at most of the post-crisis Wonder Woman runs as an example, I would say most, if not all of them, you can feel their love for the character every time they wrote the character, from Perez to Jimenez to Rucka to even in some ways Simone. But it's like all of them, because if they're referencing obscure stuff, if Diana feels like she's talking with her own voice, but if they're finding ways to balance respecting the past while creating an original story, that's how you know that this person loves it. It's like Absolute Wonder Woman currently, but by Kelly Thompson. It's all that. It's like she respects the character. She's referencing obscure lore from Wonder Woman's past. And here's the part about Absolute Wonder Woman that really impressed me. The premise is, what if Wonder Woman was raised in hell instead of on Paradise Island? However, the way Wonder Woman is characterized in this run is just, it's regular Diana. It's not like this hellspawn Diana that's like this warrior goddess. No, it is straight up, what if Diana was placed in this scenario? She still acts like Diana. She's just as merciful. She's just as kind as Diana. And then the world all changes around her to become more hopeful.
well, I don't get modern DC comics that
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
will not get the absolute because
Mhm.
it's just another fringe thing that's going to be
Yeah.
canceled in a year or two, and then I read the Batman. He's not Bruce Wayne. He's a big, tall, blonde guy. He's 6'9", and he works for the carnival. It's like this is another character.
Yeah.
This is not Batman, and it to me it's a cash grab. I don't care how well written it is. They should have called this guy something else, the Carney or Roustabout or something like that. Like because that's what it sounds like. It's a completely, but we're gonna slap Batman's name on it to sell books,
Mhm.
and I don't like that. Like this is Spider-Man, but he's a 9'2" warrior from another planet that uses technology and he flies with. That's why you call him Spider-Man. Oh, because it sells books.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, no, absolutely not.
But again, people like it. That's fine. And you know what I am glad about though, the Absolute line, is that it's selling and comic book stores are noting an increase in sales. So that's
and
good.
teenager and like new kids are starting pull lists for the first time because of the Absolute line.
See that? So that is, I'm trying to look at the good, but I'm also looking at the time. It's 1:02. I gotta go and get cleaned up and have my hour commute for work. And if you know anything about the Long Island Expressway, it's the world's longest parking lot. So sometimes I get to work, I'm 40 minutes early. Sometimes I get to work, I'm 5 minutes late. So you can never predict. So anything you want to say before we shut down?
Before we wrap up, I actually have a trailer for the comic. It's at the top if you want to play that real quick.
Sure. We'll play that and then we'll say goodbye.
Okay.
Okay.
My home has been invaded, my people slaughtered, and I could not do anything to stop it. Not again. I will not lose another home, another family. I am Princess Lyra of the planet Centragar, Athena, the goddess of thunder, and this is my story.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
StreamYard is acting weird. They raise the price and then they act weird.
It happens.
Cool, man. Good luck. I get it back. Not live. Nobody needs to know my credit card information. So
I appreciate that.
Good luck, man. And I really have to get going.
No problem.
But thanks a lot. Anytime you want to come back, man. This is fun. Good conversation.
Absolutely.
And check out Genuine Comics too. Dave's in the chat. I love Dave's comics. All right. I got to get a haircut, man. I got crazy hair. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
See you.